Up next on Sci-Fi Fantasy, check your power supply. Hey everybody, it's Kenny Conklin from SciFiFantasy.com and welcome to another video. So I have a quick warning for my fellow modelers that are doing lighting on their kits and they have a power supply similar to this. I was messing around with some stuff and for some reason it just didn't feel right what was going on. So I threw my multimeter on there and I found out that this was not working right. So I'm going to take you over to the bench. I don't want to drag on too long and I'm going to show you what's going on. So this is my X-Power DC power supply 305D. Many of you have a power supply, either this one or one that looks exactly the same as this, except it has a different name over here. Maybe it's a different color, but it has all the plugins here, the same knobs, the same amps, high, low, same screens, everything. That's because all of these are pretty much a knockoff of each other. They're made in China. All the guts are pretty much the same. There are a few different models with different features on it. Well, really just two different features, and that would be two screws over here. And I'll explain what that was for if you have it, so you don't have to do what I'm doing. But I was working on some LEDs. I was going to be doing the next video in the series, but something seemed off. When I was running 9 and 12 volts, it just wasn't right. So I threw my multimeter on there and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So you can see my power supply is running at 9 volts. What we're going to do is we're going to take our multimeter, and if you don't have a multimeter, go over to Home Depot or Lowe's. I picked mine up. I think it was like 15 or 20 bucks. You don't need an expensive one for what we're doing. And I'm just going to throw my leads onto the leads of the multimeter. So going from the power supply to the multimeter. Now hopefully this isn't in focus. What we're going to do is we're going to turn the knob to 20 volts because we're running between 9 and 12 volts, or 5 and 12 volts for some of us. You don't want to do 2 because that's not going to give us the proper reading. So we're going to throw it there. Now you can see that my voltage, and actually that's lower than before what I tested, is almost at an 11. So it's 2 volts higher. So if I'm running at 9 volts and I'm pushing 2 more volts out, I'm overpowering what I'm supposed to be doing. And plus we want our power supply to do what we're supposed to be doing. Before, this was actually running, when I had it on 9, it was running at a 12. So I'm going to show you what to do. Some of you may have 2 screws over here. Those screws are fine adjustment screws. So if you do throw your multimeter and you end up with something like this where you're running at an 11 or 12 and it's supposed to be a 9, you can turn that screw with your multimeter on until both are at the same thing. So now what you're going to do, and I did it already, is you're going to take all the screws off the lid and you're going to pop the lid off. And this is if you don't have the 2 screws on front. And just be careful, this gets a little flimsy when you take off the top. After you take the top off, this is the inside. You don't got to mess with anything back here, but if you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 blue adjusters over here. They have tiny little screws in them. So these are what we're going to mess with. I'm not messing with the current side. I'm going to be fine-tuning the voltage side. This way we get 9 on the voltage on the machine itself, plus 9 on the multimeter, and then we know we're running at a true 9 volts. Okay, as you can see, we're at 9 volts, again on here, 10.8 volts on the multimeter. Now in the back where I showed you the 4 little blue things, all 4 have a screw on it, but the bottom one, the 2 small ones here and 1 on the bottom over there, those aren't the ones. You'll see a top one with a bigger screw in it. That's the one that we're going to be adjusting. So what we're going to do is we're going to adjust it so that this reads the same as this. So let's get to playing with this, and hopefully I don't electrocute myself. Okay, we're going to put the screw in there and see which way we're going to turn. 10.3. Okay. Go up, up. We're going to go to 10.9. Wow, mine was cranked. I have it cranked all the way down, and it's 0.1 off, which is no big deal. That's not too bad. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this back down to 9 and see how close, if we're closer to 9 than we were before. Do our little fine adjustment there. We're at 9.16 volts, so that's better than being 2 to 3 off. I'm going to see if I can turn it just a little bit more and get this down to exactly 9. If we can't, at least we're close now, and definitely going to have to get a different power supply. All right, I can't crank it down anymore, so I don't want to break anything back there. So I'm going to be off by 1 or 0.16 on the voltage. So again, just to show you the inside of the machine, you have the 4 little blue things here. Don't worry about these 3 on this side. It's the one with the screw on the face plate itself over here. And that's the one I adjusted to get down to the 9.1. We're still a little off, but at least I'm not putting a 9 volt LED on, and then the next thing you know, I'm running at almost 12 volts and burning stuff out. So just get yourself a multimeter and check out your system. I'm going to show you one more thing before we go. So over here you have your voltage, and over here you have your current. Using these knobs, you can fine tune your amps and milliamps to a set point where the machine won't go over that, and it'll keep a steady, it's supposed to keep a steady 9 volts at, say we want 0.24 milliamps as the highest we want to go on our milliamps. So how you're going to do that is you're going to short circuit it, get a little sparky spark, and then you adjust your coarse knob, and then see my thing, I got to get my fine-tune knob more towards the middle. I wish this was more clicks because it's hard to see what's going on, but I raised this side on the fine so I could bring it back down, and then I can use my fine tuner and get the milliamps to 0.24. Now, if the machine does what it's supposed to do, running at 9 volts, it's not supposed to go over 0.24 milliamps, just to keep things at the rates we want them, if that's what you're using. I'm just throwing a number out there. But that is how you set up your milliamp current on this side to keep it at a steady milliamp. And then once we take the leads apart, we're back to 9 volts and we're good to go. Now we'll check one more time before we go, after we adjusted the milliamps, just to make sure nothing changed. We'll throw that back on there, and it actually did change it to a 9.26, which is no fun that it went up another 0.10 on the voltage, but it's still close enough where I'm not going to do really too much damage, I hope. Just make sure you go in, check your stuff. I think I'm going to look and see what a better model is. I'm going to see if there's any American-made models, and I think it's time for an upgrade on this, especially if I can't match exactly my voltage to my multimeter. I trust the multimeter on the voltage now more than I do on this machine. Thanks everybody for stopping by. Like I said in the video, if you don't have a multimeter, go out, get yourself one, check your power supply, because you may be running at a higher or lower voltage and not even realize it, and end up burning things out or not figuring out why things are working, and it ends up being your power supply. So if you have any questions or comments, throw it in the comments section below. I hope yours is on the right settings. If not, just be careful, go in there and do what you have to do to get it to the right settings. I hope you all have a great night. Take care, and bye-bye.